Hi, I'm Can, and I'm so happy you enjoyed the card. So let's get to it right away. When I first saw C9's sneak peek samples of the Seaside bundle earlier this month, my immediate reaction was that it might work with the pop-up stack base. The winding road naturally pulls your eye upward through the buildings towards the horizon. I've been meaning to use the stack pop, and this set felt it might work as a vertical layered scene. The idea is to separate and place the buildings on different tiers, yet they need to visually be cohesive and read as a unit. I hope it would work out, but I wasn't sure. The cardstock I used were white along with Midnight and Peacock, with ivory being the main stock that I stenciled with using peanut ink, and cobblestone for the roof. Of the new colors, Surfside was used to brighten this very neutral color palette. I was actually wavering at one point between going Santorini or Miami, but I went for a more grounded coastal vibe. Note that I kept about an extra half inch on each side of the stencil buildings. It will help later to fill in the layers when they are separated. I also pulled up the stencil for the cobblestone path to use the full pattern, which goes a little below the registration corners. It would help later with filling out the first stack layer. Here we have the stamp for the roof, and I used Surfside. I almost always use double-sided adhesive before die cutting small pieces. Then I'll identify which piece to darken for shadow. More stamping, and this I would suggest to stamp first and then die cut. I use peacock for all the all the plants. And here, let's look at the pop-up stack pieces. There are 3 strips and the arch back piece. We're going to ink blend some peanut along the top edge of each tier to enhance the sense of perspective. Because each layer is taller as the build-up, the ink blend for the sky and sea on the back piece needs to be adjusted. Namely, the horizon line needs to be moved up to about, measure about 1.75 inches down from the center fold line. I simply put a piece of paper across as a mask and ink blend using Surfside gradient top down, later to be darkened with peacock. Then I'll turn it around, and from the bottom up I use aqua sky and darken it lightly with midnight. Then if the horizon is too crisp, I blend some Surfside to smooth it out. Now we take the stencil piece and we will separate and cut out the 3 buildings and also cut out the cobblestone path along the curve. Once they're on their own, we're ready to decorate with our stamped doors, windows, plants. But remember that although we are working on each piece, the tiers, individually, it's essential to check how the placement works together by lining them up. The best way to line them up to check is by lining up the center fold and the bottom edge. And this is especially important for the cobblestone path, which we will cut in two later and have to visually continue from the first layer up to the second. The path will also cross the center fold, and we will crease the fold once we decide on the placement. The first layer is the one that is fully visible, so the path should start at the bottom edge to the right of the fold. The building goes to the left, and we will mask the bottom with a potted plant and balance with more plants. With the second tier, the most important thing is the continuation of the path moving upwards. It needs to line up with the centerfold, and try to place it as high as possible. This path will also determine where your right tall building ends up. The last tier is simple. You're going to place the hedge where it lines up with the centerfold on its left edge, and the building goes on the right of the centerfold. Keep checking that each piece is always covered or overlapped by something in front of it. Make sure there's one more stamp for the waves on the back piece. We're ready to assemble everything, but one final touch to sharpen the look. You can use alcohol marker, which I did for the first card, but if you have these fantastics, it will let you use the ink directly by dipping into the ink pad, which I'll use for this card. Put Surfside and Aster in the center of the small white flowers, and use Surfside as a shadow in the scene. We have a very clear opening in the back where the boat is. That's the light source direction, and will inform you where the shadow of your building and object should go. Now let's put it all together. Make sure the tabs on both sides are folded down as you glue it down. It's very important once you feel it setting to reverse the fold so the card flex flat in the opposite direction. This goes for all layers and will help you as the tabs find their natural resting spot. Make sure the bottom edge lines up so it's even. And there you go, a stacked seaside pop-up scene. I hope you enjoy it and you give it a try. I appreciate you for sticking till the end. So here's a surprise look at what two of these look like when they're lined up. I think it looks pretty cool. If you like this look, you might want to make more than one. Thanks for watching.